Hey guys, so welcome back. We're back with another video. In this video, I really want to talk about foundation, and I really want to make sure that I do an in-depth video just talking about the base. If the base is slacking in any way, you might as well start over. You might as well wash your face. And in the fall, most people tend to wear fuller coverage foundation. So that's what I'm going to use today. I definitely also make sure I conceal and cover a little better in the fall. I don't mind wearing a little bit of a heavier formula just because I'm not combating the sun and I'm not worried about sweating because there's no heat. So with that, I wanted to kick off this season change with this video. It'll be a simple one, just going over foundation and the base. All right, so let's get started. So before I go in with foundation, I'm going to use this primer. This is one of my favorites. It is the Blur Primer from YSL. And it has this nice gold reflective, these little, almost like little sparkles in it, like very tiny glitter, but not glitter. And I really like this formula because it makes sure it smooths the face, but it also adds some radiance. I don't want to be, if I'm going to be full coverage, I don't want to be super flat. I still want to have some glow to the skin. So I just took one pump and I'm just spreading it around. And this primer is super silicone. Like, if a primer could be silicone, it is this one. It is super slippery. All right, and so my brows are already on, or groomed rather, and I'm gonna go right into foundation. For today's fuller coverage choice, I'm gonna go in with the Nars foundation. This is the Natural Radiant Longwear foundation in Tahoe and Moorea. I love Nars's formulas, but this one is definitely a fuller coverage, but it also isn't super matte, so I like it. It meets you in the middle. It's gonna fully cover and conceal, but it's not gonna be flat or too flat. It still has some natural dew to the finish, which is gonna be like a natural dewy skin. So I'm gonna use the Tahoe color kind of more in the center of the face, and Moorea where I'm a darker. So I'm gonna go in with a foundation brush. Let's see, I'll just use, of course, this Morphe E44. I love this foundation. It's full coverage, but it's not going to be cake face. I used to hate full coverage foundations, like just completely would not do it until I learned how to apply them and also which ones to stay away from. So then of course I'm going to go in with my beauty blender and just continue to press the foundation into my skin. And I use quite a bit of pressure when doing this. It looks like I'm beating myself up, but I promise I'm not. This is really going to just make sure that it doesn't look like the foundation is sitting on top of the skin. I really cannot stand that. So I try to really make sure it melts as one as best as possible. So next I'm gonna go in with my concealer. Today I'm gonna use this Tarte Shape Tape. I mean, I don't think it gets any fuller coverage than this. So we're just gonna go all out. So this is 37G Medium Tan Golden with 37S Tan Deep Sand. I'm gonna go in with the darker color first. And this concealer, you don't let sit because it really is thick and it dries down really fast. So I'm gonna go right in to blend it without letting it settle. And that was just one layer to start. I feel like working in sections always works out better with this foundation. All right, so now I'm gonna take the lighter color, the 37G. Take it down my nose and use it to highlight. I'm also gonna bring this concealer on my chin, just whatever's left on the sponge. I'm not adding more. And then I'm gonna flip it and blend. And then also just a little on my forehead. So I'm gonna go in and contour next because I gotta chisel the cheeks and snatch the nose, like regardless. I'm gonna go on with this little palette that I put together. You've seen it before. This is Tuffle by Fenty, and I'm gonna mix it today with the MAC Copper Beech Sculpting color just to warm it up ever so slightly. And some days I feel like I can skip the contour and just go into bronze, but today I'm focusing on the base, and this is like my go-to base routine for sure. So with this brush, I'm gonna dip into both colors with the light hand. These two are both pigmented, and I don't wanna over apply. You can always add more, it's kind of hard to take away. I don't want to overdo it. So I'm just going to start by placing the color first. And I like to keep it fairly high, like almost on the cheek, and blend from there. And this brush just makes it so easy. So next I'm gonna go in with this Morphe M210 brush, and I'm gonna use those same contour colors. And I'm gonna use them to sculpt out the nose ever so slightly. So next I'm gonna go in and start to set all of these cream products. So we wanna always set the base, of course, before we move on to anything else, especially before applying eyeshadow, just because with any fallout, it will literally stick to the skin. It will stick to the foundation, and now you're left with a mess. So what I like to do is reassure the concealer. So I like to go in with the pressed powder first, whether that's a translucent pressed powder or a foundation pressed powder, just something with a little bit of a thicker consistency and a heavier coverage. And then I'll go in with the loose powder. So my favorite pressed powders are gonna be Charlotte Tilbury. I used that one in my last video, and I use that one often. It's her under eye powder that's very popular. But before I purchased that one, I was using these. So this top row is from Makeup Forever. It's the Velvet Matte Foundation powders. And then this bottom row, it's MAC. It's their Studio Fix foundation powders. So it just depends on the day. Whatever I choose kind of varies, but the Makeup Forever foundation powders are more mattifying. So I tend to use those more in the warmer months. So I'm gonna actually use the MAC Studio Fix powder foundation in NC43. So I'm gonna take this powdered brush from Morphe to E48, just something round, fluffy, but small enough to get under the eye. I'm gonna dip right into this powder, and I'm gonna press it and set under the eye. I'm also gonna bring it just down the center of the nose slightly, on the forehead, chin, and really into these smile lines. Now to set the rest of the face, you could definitely use the same powders, and I do certain days. Certain days I just need a little more reassurance, or sometimes I just want a little more coverage, and I'll go right into the same palette and use one of these foundation powders. But most of the time, if I take my time and apply my foundation, the coverage that I want is there. So I like to set with Mineralize powders, and these are the MAC Mineralize Skinfinish powders. I have a range of them because I also use them to bronze sometimes. And for the face, I go in with the dark shade, which is the lightest one I own here. And these powders are just beautiful. Like, they have a beautiful finish. They are not too heavy. They're very lightweight. They have a natural shift to them, or natural sheen to them. So that's like my preferred way to set my foundation. And then, you can always not completely set your foundation. I have more combination skin, a little more oily, so I really like to set it so that it doesn't move. I don't want my foundation to move throughout the day. So I like to use a really fluffy brush, something similar to this. This is the Sephora 50 powder brush. And I'm gonna just swivel it around and just press into the skin. I don't wanna buff or move it around. I don't wanna swirl my brush. I just wanna press it. I'm gonna also take some of this same mineralized powder on this smaller brush and use it to lightly set the lid. Because I applied that foundation without priming the eyelid, I need to set it so that it does not crease. So now to finish off the face, I'm gonna apply this powder bronzer. This is the Makeup Forever Pro Fusion bronzer. I don't know why that's a tongue twister. This is probably, if I had to pick one, my favorite bronzer. It's between this and the Nars, because y'all know I love the Nars. But this one right here, it has a beautiful shift. I love when my powders are not super matte or super flat. I need a little sheen, little shift, not glitter, not glow, just a little skin-like movement. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a lot to ask for. So I'm gonna use a angled brush. I'm using a lot of Morphe brushes today. This is the Morphe E4. I'm gonna take this bronzer. I'm just gonna lightly apply this to the face, lightly of course. I don't know about anyone else, but I wear bronzer year round. Like, I wear redder or maybe like more sun-kissed bronzers in the summer, but like my more golden bronzers or neutral bronzers, I wear them year round. I love bronzers, and I think they love me too. I'm gonna do my normal baking method, which is under the eye, sides of the nose, down the center of the nose, chin, and underneath the contour. And I actually bought the lighter shade in this formula. I think it's called Blonde or Blondie. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to use that in the winter when I get paler, unfortunately. But I just love this color. Like, oh my God, it looks perfect. And the formula is bomb too. It really works, so that's why I bought the other shade. I actually have I have two shades actually, so I'm gonna have to pull those out. All right, so of course I'm gonna dust off everything but the nose because I cannot bake long. If I do, I'll be a powdered donut. So now I'm gonna dust off my nose bake that has sat for a little bit. And I'm gonna just reinforce my nose contour. I love to use this shade from MAC. It's called Shadester. I have a backup because this one's almost gone. And it's one of MAC's Pro Sculpting colors. So I'm gonna use this Morphe M522 brush. Dip into that. So at this point, you could definitely apply shadow and blush if you were really going for the glam look or a more made up look. This is my base. This is how I create my base almost for every look. I start here and then I build from here. So I'm not gonna apply shadow or blush today. I wanna leave the skin kind of, you know, cleaned up, perfected with a little bit of a bronze and contour glow. But I always have to do one last thing before leaving, and that is spraying the face. That is misting the face. And setting sprays are so important because they really kind of merge all the layers together and blend everything together so that it looks like one. And also on top of powder, the spray really takes away that powdery look. So I have several sprays. I love this Morphe one. I love this fresh one. And then my OG MAC Fix Plus, can't go wrong. But you know what, I grabbed the Morphe one the most, so. And it's an aerosol. I love an aerosol. I love a continuous spray. So the setting spray, it does not prolong the makeup. It really helps to rehydrate and bring it back to life. So off camera, I applied my mascara and lip. And yeah, this is how I establish my foundation. This is what I do before I move on to blush and shadow. You know, and it could be simply worn by itself as well. You know, it's enough coverage and enough dimension that you could walk right out the house and still feel glam and still feel made up without spending all day long in the mirror. So let me know how you establish your foundation, because foundations are key. We're moving to this cooler weather where you can really have a beat face and it'll last all day long if applied correctly. So I hope you learned something today. This is just a quick little tutorial. I want to kind of do these type of videos so we can just take it back to the basics. So let me know how you apply your foundation, what foundations you enjoy, what concealers are your go-to, your OGs, your essentials. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Peace.